Welcome everyone. In this video we will get familiar with our MakeyMakey, but before we get to that, I want to do a little activity so that you can understand the basic principle behind what makes the MakeyMakey function. So right here I have a 9-volt battery, some aluminum foil, an LED light, some clay, and a battery connector. So what I want to do first is to maybe take you back to 6th grade science where you may have done something like this. So I have these two pieces of clay. I want to connect to my battery. And then I'll take these ends, and remember there's a positive and a negative. So we plug these into the clay, and of course by now you're probably guessing that the clay is conductive, meaning the power is coming from the battery through the wires flowing to the clay right now. And if we do this correctly, our light should come on. However, it did not come on. And this is what happens when you have basic everyday devices like a flashlight or a video game that you may have had as a child, or if you have nieces and nephews that have gaming devices or something like that. If you do not put the batteries in correctly, the game won't turn on. Same thing here. This light won't turn on because essentially my batteries are not in correctly. So I want to unplug these wires, and now I plug this one into that piece of clay, plug this one here. Now you'll notice that the light is on. So what we've done is just created a basic circuit, and our circuit starts with our power here, flows through these two wires, goes to the clay which is conductive, and comes the power of the light. Now I don't want to leave this on constantly, so now I want to add another concept called creating a switch. So a switch is something that you use every day of your life. When you walk into the bathroom in the morning to brush your teeth, the first thing you might do is turn the light on, and you hit what's called a switch. So that's what we'll make now. So I'll unplug here, and I'll unplug here, and I just want to take a piece of this clay, and now when I plug it back in, I want to keep that same similar setup that I had before. So we knew that this cord went here because this is what helped make it light up. So I'll plug that back in. And now this time, instead of going directly here to light it up, I'll come to this piece and plug it in. And so now what we have is some power going that way, some power going this way. And now these two need to be able to talk to each other, or in science terms, we need to close the circuit. So what we'll do is put our conductive material, which is aluminum foil. And this is just basic aluminum foil that you would have at home. And now, when the foil touches the other piece of clay, you'll notice that the light comes on. So now we can control the flow of energy by creating a switch. And this is the basic concept that you want to work with or understand when you're using the MakeyMakey. Alright, so if you need to watch that again, please do. And if you have this set up, you can practice. Now if you don't quite have this, I'm sure you can find some clay. You may not be able to find an LED light, but you could find one at probably Walmart or something like that if you wanted to practice this. You probably have a battery around. And the connectors you may or may not be able to find at Walmart, but you could be creative and figure out how to do something like, even if you just had some open wires, you could wrap it around it. And that's wires from anything. It could be from some old wire from a game or an old cord. You could strip it, wrap one piece here, plug it in, wrap one piece here, plug it in, and you'll have the same effect. This just makes it a little easier. And a lot of this material came directly from Amazon, and there are other companies that you can order from as well. So now that we've done that, we'll move on to our MakeyMakey. So the MakeyMakey is an invention kit, and that means that it's designed for teachers or anyone to use with kids in after-school programs or in classrooms to help them create and make things. And what they make depends on what you're doing in the classroom. Sometimes it can be open to the point where you say be creative and invent something that you're interested in inventing, or it could be more direct. Let's say you're doing a social studies lesson and you want students to invent something that will make lights come on in a town that they 3D printed. It could be directed like that, or it could be a little bit more open-ended. But you always want to direct it and guide it towards something within your curriculum. So if you can see this little sticker, there's a word on here that says Spark Fun. And this is a company where if you really wanted to geek out with this stuff, you could order different types of materials from here. And so you may want some transistors or different types of motors or gear motors, what's called servo motors. There's all kinds of things that you can get into, and some of them are more expensive than others. But now we'll start with the basics. So let's open our MakeyMakey box. And inside, of course, you should have your board. And you should have some stickers, as well as what's called alligator clips. And they're just wires with clips on the end, and they're called alligator clips because they look like an alligator when you open and close, kind of like that math lesson that you teach kids about greater than and less than. And you can find these pretty much anywhere. So you can get them from a Home Depot or Harbor Freight, any stores like that. You can find wires like this. And then you just got some basic wires. You have a USB cord, which part of this, the micro USB on this end, plugs into the board. And this is how the board gets its power. So the other end is the type A USB, or the USB that you normally see. And when you plug this into the computer, you should see your board light up, and then you know it's getting power. So the way this works is I would need to have some wires, and I'm going to do a basic setup. I'm going to show you about that concept of a switch. I'm going to show you with some materials I have here, and this is something that you'll do. Now you notice that I have two different types of materials here. This is basic aluminum foil. And I just cut these circles in cardboard just using scissors, and I have some staples, and I just stapled this on one side. I cut the circles out of aluminum foil. So you can certainly just use aluminum foil. If you want to be a little fancier and neater, you can buy this aluminum tape, which you can find at stores like Home Depot, and it's just a strip of aluminum tape. One side it has adhesive, so it's sticking to the board or to the cardboard, and that's about it. Now on the other side I have some stickers, and I bought these stickers from the dollar store. If you wanted to decorate it, that's not something you have to do, but you will make your own controllers in the first part of the assignment that you do. And you also need some foam, and the foam will just act as a way to keep these two surfaces separated. So when you make the controllers you'll make a similar setup, except you won't have this long piece of cardboard, and it won't be this. I wanted to show you this to show you that you can apply it in different ways. So what I want to do here is have this on top, and I'm creating a little sandwich. And what I want to happen, if you can see this, I want to be able to squeeze in the middle and the surfaces touch. So when I push down, the aluminum meets the aluminum, and when I release, it releases. So this is just like when I had the aluminum and I touched it with the clay and the light came on. So whatever I'm creating, and we also will connect this to Scratch, and whatever happens when I do this, whatever I programmed, it will cause it to occur, and when I let go, it will stop. And I also need a rubber band. So you don't want it too tight, so you don't want it to be too restrictive, so you can just test out different sizes of rubber bands, but I will put a piece of rubber band here. And that might be a little too tight, but we'll go with it. So now, see how that space is there, and when I do this, they'll meet. Alright, so now we have to make our little connection. So think about what we did with the clay in the beginning, and what I will do here is connect the clip on this, and then I will take the other end and put it on earth. So now this is what we call grounding, and I'll need one more clip. This clip I want to connect to my little switch right here, and as long as it's got a good grip on the foil, you've done it right. And then the next thing I need to do is to decide, well, how do I want this to happen? And I can use spacebar, I can use any of these arrows, or I can use click if I want it. I'll just go with the spacebar, and then I click that in. And now if I had this set up, you would be able to see that if I plug this in and then program it, I'd be able to do this. And just like in some of the videos or some of the projects you made in Scratch where when you press the space bar, maybe your voice came in to say some directions, the same thing would happen here. You would just program a key to do it. And I'll show you that in the next video. But this is the basic setup you need when you are creating your switch. And when you create your switch, you're actually going to go play some games with it. And I'll show you that setup really quick. So what you'll need is your MakeyMakey, of course. And the dimensions for this are in the assignment details. I just wanted to show you real quick. You'll need 2 pieces that you'll cut out like this. You'll add your aluminum foil here, or your aluminum tape, depending on what you want to use. Eventually, when they have the aluminum on both sides, you would plug them, you would face them like this. The foam would be in between. A rubber band holds them together, and then you would have created your switch. And then you would connect the wires, one on each end. So one would be here touching foil, and one would be here touching the foil. And I'm purposely not showing you because I want you to be able to explore, but actually I will show you. So I have these round pieces. You'll have rectangular pieces, but they should be facing like this still, either way. And you'll still make, like, think of this as a chocolate chip ice cream cookie sandwich. And then again, one of your wires goes here and one goes here. And then of course your MakeyMakey is plugged into the board. And once you've made this, you're going to go to a website and you're going to play some games. And eventually you'll be doing a project where you have to invent something for your future classroom. If you have any questions, please let me know.